As China's economy continues to decline, Dongguan's once thriving manufacturing industry has hit rock bottom, with many businesses closing down. The city now resembles a ghost town, with workers left jobless and without income. Many have become homeless, sleeping under bridges, on streets, or in parks. Across Dongguan, you can see disheveled men and women wandering aimlessly, living out in the open. Dongguan, once hailed as the world's factory, attracted countless migrant workers hoping for a brighter future. Many young women came here to support their families, shouldering heavy responsibilities at a young age. However, Dongguan is no longer the paradise it once was for laborers. These women, now homeless, scrape by with odd jobs and scavenging for recyclables. When asked about their family situations, they prefer to remain silent, likely harboring unspoken burdens. When asked about their future plans, they express confusion, simply taking life one day at a time. Abandoned cement pipes are piled up haphazardly, serving as makeshift shelters. Kitchens consist of simple stone tables, and all electricity, including for phones and lights, relies on portable chargers, creating a sense of living in a primitive wilderness. These pipes are now fully occupied, with some residents even live streaming from inside. Despite the government's rhetoric of economic prosperity, people are still sleeping in these dilapidated conditions, which has drawn considerable attention. Life for these displaced individuals revolves around basic survival: food, water, and temporary shelter. Dongguan is particularly filled with young homeless men, most of whom come from impoverished families. They struggle to make ends meet, and many have no choice but to live on the streets. In a video, a young man explains that he has worked in Dongguan for years, hoping to save enough money to build a new house for his father back home. Now unemployed, he cannot afford rent and has resorted to living under a bridge. He charges his phone at a nearby public restroom while using an electric pot to boil water for instant noodles, his only meal for the day. The young man appears shy and embarrassed in front of the camera. Young man, why are you lying here? Didn't you look for a job? Are you not working today? He is ignoring me. This recent shared video of a homeless boy has struck a chord with many viewers, prompting a flood of emotional comments. One viewer remarked, "Seeing this boy with his thick glasses, it's hard not to feel sad for him." Others speculated, his parents likely borrowed a lot of money from villagers to put him through college. How can he face them now? The pain is unspoken. Another added, he carries a burden in his heart but doesn't want to share it. If he goes home, people will say he wasted his education. Gossip would spread, and with no job prospects in this tough economy, even those who have been out working for years are struggling, let alone fresh graduates. A commentator lamented the current state of life, saying, "Things are so bad now, I can't even describe it. So many people can't find jobs. We're all just getting by, cutting back on everything we can except food. We're only staying out here as long as we can hold on. When we can't, we might have no choice but to go back home." Observations show that Dongguan's unemployment crisis has worsened significantly this year. Many factories have stopped hiring, with only a few still looking for workers, but they impose strict requirements on age, gender, experience, and education. For example, some factories won't hire anyone over 35, others only recruit female workers, and some refuse recent graduates due to lack of experience. These restrictions leave many without work, unable to afford high rent, forcing them to live in parks and under bridges, a phenomenon becoming increasingly common in Dongguan. One person noted with frustration, "I've been unemployed several times this year alone, and the total time I've worked is less than 2 months. The job market is too competitive, and the high unemployment seems to be everywhere. Every day feels like walking on eggshells." A university graduate added, "As a recent graduate, it's tough to find a job. After searching for so long, the pay is low, and there's no food or accommodation included. It's not that we're too picky. With so many factories closing, even the restaurant industry in Dongguan is suffering. Many places have shut down, and even finding work as a waiter is difficult. Many of Dongguan's street front shops have already closed, and several commercial buildings are now shuttered. Even restaurants with some recognition are barely seeing any customers. Streets that once thronged with crowds now feel desolate. Only a few businesses remain open, while most have shut their doors. Dongguan's Xialingbei Commercial Street, once a bustling hub where storefronts were in high demand and crowds filled the streets, is now eerily quiet. Most shops are closed, and the street is largely empty, a stark contrast to its lively past. Dongguan, which used to be crowded with workers, now appears eerily deserted. The memories of a decade ago, when the city was filled with migrant workers, have faded as the labor waves recede, leaving behind a strange and unsettling quiet. The economic downturn in Dongguan has severely impacted local livelihoods. A local taxi driver told reporters that in recent years, many factories have relocated to Southeast Asia due to lower labor costs, and the rise of e-commerce has further hindered industrial growth. When the factories were still here, the streets were full of young people, and restaurants were packed. Now, many factories are gone, the streets are empty, and numerous shops have closed down. What do you think of Dongguan's economy now? It's a little past 4 p.m., and if you look at the road behind me, there's hardly a single person in sight. It's so quiet. I really don't know why it turned out this way. People used to say that Dongguan was a bustling paradise, a place where the world's factories thrived. So why has it become this ghost town with no one around? Dongguan should be packed with people, with all the factories here. Why has it become so empty? Where have all these people gone? Douyin user Lang Zihua recently posted a video saying, I don't know what's going on with Dongguan's economy. Here, we have the one-room manufacturing industrial park. It's brand new, with newly built factories and office buildings, all tall and modern. It's a great spot for companies to set up, with a village nearby where people can rent housing while working here. But I really don't know what's going on with Dongguan's economy. This area is in Hengjiang north of Liaobu town, where many industrial parks are available for lease. Just look at that industrial park over there with its brand new buildings, also for rent. Here, at Wanhong Industrial Park, the buildings are also up for lease. Everything is brand new and high-end, with a great environment, but there are barely any companies or factories leasing these spaces. You can tell from the fact that the lights are off and no one is coming in or out. Every building has banners advertising leasing. There are many blocks like this, all in a beautiful setting. It's such a prime location with upscale and impressive buildings, yet almost no companies are moving in. You can see just a few electric scooters parked below, which shows that very few companies are operating here. It's a shame that such excellent facilities are mostly vacant. The ground floor shops are also for lease. This is a pretty large-scale and high-end manufacturing park. If these places can't hire people, it's all just going to waste. Over there, you can see another industrial park up for lease, and many shops on the ground floor are also for rent. Every building here has 10 stories, with each floor offering thousands of square meters of space. At the entrance to the market, even the stores are either transferring or looking for new tenants. It's really tough to run a business here. Across the street, more factories and shops are up for lease. In the 1980s, as China began its reform and opening up policies, Dongguan became one of the country's first special economic zones. A large influx of foreign enterprises poured into Dongguan to establish factories, leading to the formation of the World Factory. By the 1990s, Dongguan's economy developed rapidly, with its GDP soaring, making it one of China's fastest growing cities. At one point, Dongguan's economic output even surpassed neighboring Shenzhen, and its name became known throughout the country. Dongguan is a city that grew rapidly due to foreign investments, with industries such as electronics, toys, footwear, and furniture booming. At its peak, Dongguan was home to over 6,000 Taiwan-funded enterprises, the majority of which were manufacturing companies. Following the 2008 global financial crisis, Dongguan faced the challenges of industry relocation and population outflow, which led to a shakeup of local businesses. Over the next decade, the smartphone industry became the cornerstone of Dongguan's electronics sector. Domestic smartphone brands like Huawei, Oppo, and Vivo brought prosperity to the city's smartphone manufacturing industry. During that period, Dongguan became a major global exporter of electronic products. In addition to electronics, Dongguan earned multiple titles such as China's furniture capital, despite not being a timber-producing city. The city was also a key hub for various manufacturing industries and became known as a creative city. Dongguan was once a bustling metropolis, filled with factories on every corner and shops lining the streets. Workers moved through the city amid the constant traffic. A popular saying at the time was, "If Dongguan has a traffic jam, the entire world's electronics market trembles." However, the US-China trade war, which erupted in 2018 and continues today, combined with China's strict lockdowns during the 3 years of the pandemic, led to a rapid economic decline. More critically, political uncertainty in China and frequent regulatory changes have left entrepreneurs frustrated. Large foreign enterprises in Dongguan shifted their attention to Southeast Asia, where labor costs are lower, driving the relocation of the supply chain. Many small and medium-sized private enterprises shut down, and even those that survived were teetering on the edge of bankruptcy, leading to the collapse of Dongguan's world factory status. For example, Dongguan's once thriving electronics industry saw numerous companies collapse, including Zhongxin Electronics Co. Ltd., a Japanese-owned company in Qiaotou Town, Dongguan. After nearly 30 years of operation, the company experienced a sharp decline in orders due to the pandemic and announced its closure on December 31, 2023. Another company, Aigao Electronics Factory, once earned billions of yuan annually and was a favorite among young workers. However, on December 28, 2021, with the company facing unbearable losses, the founder, Mr. Liang, tragically took his own life. At its peak in the early 2000s, the company employed 20,000 people, but officially closed on August 31, 2022. Wanshida LCD Display Screens Limited, which opened in 1995 and once employed tens of thousands, was a major supplier for Apple. However, due to falling behind in manufacturing technology, the company ceased operations in 2014. Dongguan's Nokia factory, one of the city's largest, was established in 1995 and acquired by Microsoft in 2013. Despite once donating 50 million yuan to the Sichuan earthquake relief, the factory couldn't save itself and is now overrun by weeds, leaving many Nokia fans heartbroken. Beyond electronics, Dongguan's consumer goods manufacturing industries, such as furniture and apparel, have also seen waves of closures this year. Some estimates suggest that in 2022 alone, 4,000 to 5,000 companies in Dongguan went out of business. The reasons for this wave of closures are multifaceted. First, as a global manufacturing hub, Dongguan relies heavily on international orders for revenue. To put it simply, for every 1 yuan worth of goods produced in Dongguan, more than 4 yuan worth of raw materials and products are imported and exported. This highlights the city's deep ties to the global economy. The ongoing US-China trade war, with escalating tariffs on billions of dollars of Chinese imports, has driven US companies to avoid purchasing Chinese-made products. This has accelerated the shift of Dongguan's production capacity overseas. For large companies, labor costs in Southeast Asia and Africa are only a fraction of those in Dongguan, making relocation inevitable. However, the exodus of large enterprises has created survival challenges for smaller processing companies in Dongguan, many of which face no orders and ultimately shut down. Second, despite Dongguan's strong manufacturing capacity, it lacks homegrown brands, core competitiveness, and global influence. For over a decade, the city has worked to upgrade its traditional manufacturing industry, including creating a robotics industry cluster in the Songshan Lake High-Tech Industrial Development Zone and promoting the digital economy. However, analysts point out that Dongguan still lags in integrating industries, schools, and research institutions, limiting the number of companies it can attract, and market demand remains weak. Third, with insufficient external demand, more Dongguan companies have turned to domestic sales, leading to more intense competition within certain manufacturing sectors and driving profit margins even thinner. For any city heavily reliant on manufacturing, missing the wave of technological advancement comes with a heavy price. The city faces two outcomes: either fall into a vicious cycle of low-price competition to maintain the market, or be pushed to the margins entirely. What's more concerning is the growing population exodus, which has become a major obstacle to Dongguan's development. Once a top choice for migrant workers, the city now faces a significant outflow of people. Industry insiders reveal that rising labor costs, soaring raw material and land prices, and falling product prices are all squeezing businesses. In some factories, especially privately owned ones, workers are still paid the local minimum wage. If workers want to earn 5,000 to 6,000 yuan a month, they must give up their rest days beyond the standard 5-day, 8-hour work week. Some workers are doing double the workload. Workers are increasingly dissatisfied with their wages, reflecting the deterioration of labor conditions in the wake of the pandemic. With more than half of 2024 already behind us, China's weak economic momentum remains a hot topic globally. Not only are the real estate and local government debt problems mounting, but foreign investors also pulled out a record amount of capital from China in the second quarter of this year, reflecting a growing pessimism toward the world's second-largest economy. Observers also note that the CCP's continued tightening of regulations, including national security controls on the financial sector and restrictions on foreign businesses' freedom of expression in China, will make reversing the trend of foreign capital outflows even more difficult.